Hey, in the book of Luke, chapter 12, okay, Jesus is doing a little bit of teaching. He was teaching about hypocrisy. Right? Imagine there was a crowd there and they were listening. Imagine some were kind of intently listening to the teacher. This guy, though, interrupts. It's kind of obvious that I guess that he hadn't really been listening, kind of preoccupied with something. And it turns out that he was really kind of thinking about this, about cash, right? He had this on his mind. He says, calls out, "Teacher, please tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me, an inheritance." Okay? And so he's probably the younger brother, and he wanted to make sure that he got a fair shake from his older brother. As they pass it down, they pass down the property, they pass down the money, father's inheritance, right? So he interrupts Jesus so that Jesus can kind of get in there and push his brother around, I guess. Hey, give the younger brothers what is due, right? And so Jesus says, "Friend, look, who made me a judge over you to decide such things as that? Look, my friend, I can teach you about generosity, about what to do with your possessions, because the Bible talks about a lot about that, about wealth, about power, about money, right? Blessed are the poor, because they have this dependence upon God, but woe to the rich, right? It's not the money's a bad thing, but it's in 1 Timothy it says it's the love of money, right? When a love that is supposed to be going to God first and foremost gets replaced, right, by money, priority. And so he says, guard against every kind of greed. Oh, so now we kind of get into it. It's greed. And Erich Fromm's a guy, he was a writer, and he said this: greed is a bottomless pit, bottomless, which exhausts the person in an endless effort to satisfy the need without ever reaching satisfaction. For some reason, we're not content. It's an important word. Not content with what we have, but we need more, or we want more, right? That's another question is, sometimes we have what we need, but we want more and more and more, right? Because God will provide us what we need. But sometimes we overreach. Right? So Jesus replies, well, he said, life is not measured by how much you own. Whoa. Okay, so there's a lesson. Sometimes we want more and more and more. And the reason we do is because we can define ourselves in that way. It seems like if we have more money, we have success, we have more possessions, accumulating things, then it kind of defines us, and it puts on that mask or that show for the outside world. It says, this is who I am, when it's really not, as children of God. Right? And so for me, my brother, my gosh, my brother, he's so generous. He's a car guy, right, and owns his own shop and everything. And he gave me a 1998 F-150 pickup truck. It's a beauty. He only had 65,000 miles on it. Man, I drive that thing around. I'm feeling good. I'm serious. I love that little truck, right? And then I went by a car dealership. I was just walking, and I saw an ocean. I saw an ocean of pickup trucks, right? Ocean, different colors, big, right? These things are getting bigger, right? Leather. I could live in one of these cabs that these new ones have. Stereo systems, bigger air conditioners I probably got in my house, right? I sit there, all the bells and whistles, and I sit there and say, boy, I need one. Maybe I need one of those. Right? So easy to fall into that trap. Right? I might want for some reason, but Man, I love that little truck. Gets me from A to B. That's all I need. And I know that. That's all I need. But the temptation, for some reason. And so Jesus tells a story, right? For somebody who wants a bigger pickup truck, right? Tells a story to this guy. He says, a rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. Okay, he's growing things like crazy. And so he said to himself, he said, what should I do? This man says, I don't have room for all my crops. And then he said, I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. I think that's kind of funny too, because I read an article too after I got my truck. And it said that there were folks that were actually building bigger garages because the trucks were getting bigger. Now, if you need a big truck like that, go for it, right? I'm not saying that having a big truck is bad, but me, I don't need this bigger machine, okay? Right? So, this guy builds bigger barns. He said, then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. Okay, he's hoarding this stuff, right? And then I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, he's talking to himself, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry. Okay, yeah. Not to mention that maybe there are some other folks that might need that stuff that you've hoarded, right? There are people out there that need that, right? While you're hoarding it. Okay, that's one, but here's something else too. You notice how many times in this passage where he says, I, me, and mine. Okay? He says, I'll tear down my barns. I'll have enough room to store all my wheat. I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, think about it. This guy didn't even have a friend to talk with about this. He had to talk to himself. That would be the thing that in Jesus' time they would have picked right up on. This poor guy was rich, wealthy, and didn't have a friend in the world. Yeah, eat, drink, and be merry. Go for it, pal. Sit in your living room alone because you don't have any really deep, authentic friends for some reason. And I just think, I've read articles about, America as the wealthiest nation, on earth and that kind of a thing. But there's also this incredibly increasing rate of loneliness, which is leading to depression and anxiety and all this kind of a thing. I think there is something to that. Okay, so you got this, I'm going to sit back and say to myself, my friend? I mean, that is so sad when you think about it. Sitting in the mirror with your wads full of cash saying, hi, my friend, let's eat, drink, and be merry. Okay. But God says to him, look, you fool, you fool. You'll die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? You can't take it with you. Remember my mom saying that you can't take it with you. Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth but not have a rich relationship with God. It seems that wealth can take over as the number one instead of loving God with our whole heart. And then loving neighbors too. It can impact that as well. It's not only our own heart and soul too, with what it can do to us, right? With the greed, okay? A person is a fool to store up earthly wealth but not have a rich relationship with God. So maybe, right, instead of an entire focus on a monetary inheritance, maybe, and at least for me, this is what I've been thinking about, is leaving a legacy. What it means to leave a rich, godly legacy, right? Of a relationship with God in my life, of character, of love, of generosity, mercy, all that incredible child of God, Jesus stuff, the character that gets built into us. But what if I pass that along instead of just money and what that would mean for future generations? I think about that. I think about that a lot. So, God bless you. I'll see you, my friends. Bye-bye.